Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. So today I am rounding out 2023 and telling you my 2024 goals, and then also telling you what books I plan to read in January. So 2023 was an incredible year for reading, and that is because I read 155 books, found some new favourites, and just had a really fun time creating content in 2023. And that's also because I did start this channel in 2023 and just sharing with you all the books that I have been loving. With that being said, I've got my 2023 spreadsheet open. This is where I've been tracking my books and all the different stats involved in that. And I have been using the Callpile spreadsheet that was created by G over at Book Roast. I will link her channel down below. So yeah, let's get started. So I do have my laptop just here, out of frame slightly. So I will be looking at that and telling you the stats from there. What I will do, if I remember, I will pop up the graph that I'm talking about when I'm talking about it. So to start with, I kind of started the year out around the same, either 7, 10, back to 7, and then 9. But then I had a jump in May and I read 18 books. But my most read month was in July with 24 books. And then I was like steady in double figures, either low teens to the higher teens. But July was obviously the best month for me. I didn't DNF any books that I remember. I do have books that I reshelved from 2023. Bagged Bones is one of them. I plan to finish this in 2024. Decided to read too many King books in 1 month, and this was the longest and I just didn't get around to it. So there is like 3 or 4 of those books on my shelf that I plan to reread or restart in 2024. So my total pages read for the year was 42,851, which is quite a lot. That's a big jump from last year. I think my last year's was like 32,000, so I have increased that a lot. And in total I also listened to 287 hours worth of audiobooks. My most listened to month was May with 71 hours, which is huge. Normally I listen to around like 30 hours of audio a month, but 71 is massive. And that is because I went through the entire Shauna Maguire children's series. Wayward Children, I think that's the right one. But yeah, I listened to that entire series on audio, which is probably why that is so high. I mostly read physically, which is a big thing for me. I wanted to read a lot of my physical books on my shelves, and I clearly did that with 45.8% of my reading being from physical books. Part of my goals for 2023 was to, 1, read more ebooks and get into reading arcs and things like that, and then to read more of my physical TBR. And both of those have been successful, so I am pretty proud of that. I do read mostly standalones, and that's not a surprise as a horror reader. I read 85.2% of standalone books in 2023, but I have read 23 books that were part of a series. And then in saying that, I did DNF a series, so I will not be continuing the Dark Tower series by Stephen King. I just can't be bothered to throw myself into that world again. I've read the first 2 books and absolutely hated both of them, so I'm calling that quits. I can't read 8 more books or 6 more of them. So that one I did DNF this year. So I read 53 books for readathons in 2023. I read most books for Escape the Readathon with 25%, and that readathon happened in May. So reading all of those 24 books in that 1 month majority of that was for Escape the Readathon. I did want to get into more readathons and partake in the book world a little bit more. I also did my own readathon myself, like it wasn't public, but that was Stephen King September, which is why I didn't finish Bag of Bones, and I read 7 books for that in September. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it again, but we shall see. My genres read is not a surprise. That horror makes up majority of this graph, with 47.7% of the books that I've read in this category. But I did read from 12 different genres, which is quite a lot for me. I tend to stick to horror or horror adjacent, such as like thrillers, mystery based stories, but I have branched out slightly more in 2023 to include magical realism, more fantasy books, science fiction, crime and dystopian. And then moving across to translated books. Now this is an area that I feel lacked in 2023 for me. I wanted to read a lot more translated books in the year, but I only managed to read 3, one French, one Spanish and one Swedish. So I do plan to read more translated books in 2024. So books per publisher, you won't be shocked to know that Titan is the most read publisher for me. They are the publishing house in the UK that do horror, fantasy and sci-fi books. So of course I'm going to read majority from them. And how I got the books, I got 42 on Scribd, which is a lot lower than it has been in 2022. My arcs were a lot higher because I was partaking in NetGalley and getting arcs on there and getting used to reading ebook formats. So that was 24.5% of my books read. But I am really proud to say that majority of my reading came from books that I already owned. Whether that be they were already on my shelves for years or I bought them in 2023, I still read my physical TBR, which I'm quite proud of. Majority of my books I have given 4 stars to, with 36.4%. But I have rated 31 books a 5-star. So I did have a lot of really good books that I read in 2023, which I'm really happy with. One thing that I did want to do was to read more books written by women, and I think that I have accomplished this with 49.7% of my books being written by women. This is kind of difficult, especially in the horror world when the male voice and the male perspective is dominating, but I'm seeing that switch currently with the books that I am reading. And I have also read from non-binary authors, which is something that I was trying to do as well. So I'm really happy that this is something that is increasing and we're seeing a lot more of it in the publishing world. So I read from a total of 121 different authors, and this graph is like my favorite every year because there are so many colors and so many different strengths of colors, and it's just nice to see. So I'm happy that I have read from such a range of different authors. I've explored new authors. I've also explored authors that I've read from before. So that has been my 2023 reading year. I do have a favourites video if you did want to go and check that out as well. I will leave all my links in the description so you can go check out videos from the year and have a look around and see what books you might want to pick up too. Now it's time to move on to my 2024 goals. So this year I have decided to be more authentic and really true to myself. So I used to read books because they're popular or I'm seeing them on my feed and I'm trying to follow trends. So instead, I think 2024 is going to be about content that I want to create, something that I find enjoyable but also you're going to get something out of it, whether that be some book recommendations, entertainment, or wasting time. Whatever you want to get from these videos that you're watching, then I hope that I can deliver. So I'm going to be true to myself in the content that I create, but also in the books that I'm reading. So following that, I do want to take my time with the books. Whilst it's really good to read a lot of books, I've read over 100 books for the last 3 years. 2 years, not 3. For the last 2 years, I read over 100 books. And whilst it's because I'm a fast reader, I was also rushing through books and not really taking in the story and taking in that art, because it is an art form, and I feel like that's what I want to do this year. I'm going to take it slower, enjoy what I'm reading, and just like enjoy being in the book rather than rushing through it. So that's what I want to do, and not focus on the numbers as such. I do have a numeric goal, and that is 52 books for the year. I am probably going to read more than that, but as a minimum I want to read 52 books, and if I read that then I will be happy. But essentially this goal is to enjoy my books and take my time reading them. Another one that I want to do this year is to read more fantasy. I kind of neglected it over the last few years, and I've been seeing a lot more people talking about certain books, and whilst I'm not trying to fit into trends, I do want to read more fantasy and more popular fantasy books and getting into that world again. And you'll see a lot more of them popping up throughout this year, especially within book hauls and monthly wrap-ups if I decide to do that this year. Another thing that I'm doing is a horror classic catch-up. I started this in 2022. I have read a number of them already, and so this goal is to continue that into 2024, and I would like to read 4 more of those horror classic books, which I already have on my shelf, so it's not going to be difficult. And I do want to create videos with those books and kind of deep dive into the book, and if it's got a movie adaptation. And I'm not going to like dive too deep into metaphors, meanings and all of that stuff, unless it's pretty obvious to me. This is about enjoying those books, seeing the similarities to other works throughout the years, and especially within modern horror. That's where I really want to focus this goal and this project on. And then the last goal is just to film more book recommendations. I feel like I've read a lot of books in 2023, but I only have like 3 or 4 book recommendation videos. So this year I am going to do more themed book recommendations. So if you have any ideas that you want to see, do drop them in the comments, and who knows, you might see that video at some point this year. So those are my short little goals for 2024. This is all about taking time, slowing down, enjoying the books, and just creating fun and enjoyable content, I hope. Now let's move into the books that I want to read in January. I have 4 books that I would like to read in the month of January, and the first one that I am halfway through, because I am filming this at like the start of January. I bought this in Tesco's when I was back home in Northern Ireland because it was on offer, and it was such an incredible buy. I'm halfway through this and loving every single page, and that's Impossible Creatures by Catherine Rundell. This is a gorgeous fairy tale like esque fantasy world. It's stunning, it's heartwarming, it's a fun adventure based story, and I'm loving it. I cannot wait to see where the rest of this goes. And I will probably finish this weekend, which then is incredible. I mean, I've been reading this since the 28th of December. It's now the 4th of January. So I've been reading this for a long time, and it's so much more enjoyable taking my time with it and just reading it when I feel like it. So super excited to finish this book, and I'm really loving it so far. There's so many incredible creatures in here, but I will talk about this more in a different video. The next book that I would like to read is Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune. So this is a story about grief. Everybody loves this book, so I am so intrigued to see what this is about. I hope that it's heart-wrenching and really delivers on the grief side of things, because I have read a TJ Klune book last year and I did not enjoy it. The writing was not for me, so I'm hoping that this is slightly better. The next one is Under the Snow by Kirsten Erkman. This is a translated book, so I'm starting early on that goal to read more translated books in 2024. This is a Swedish translated book. This is about Lapland. I found it in a charity shop when I lived in England, so I was like, yeah, sold, need to read it. It is the winter season, so it's the perfect time to read this, and it's really short, so I'm super excited to read this. The last book that I'm hoping to get to is The Devil Takes You Home by Gabino Iglesias. So this one has won awards. I am reading it for a different project that I hope to post at some point this year. So if I don't read it in January, I will read it in February, because this is an ongoing project. So yeah, it wasn't one I picked up because of the synopsis or anything. It's because of this project that I'm reading for. So I'm really excited to get to this. It obviously must be a good book if it has won awards and that sort of thing, so I'm intrigued. These are the 4 books that I hope to read in January. Again, like I said, I'm taking them slowly. I'm delving into the worlds and introducing a lot more fantasy books in here. So I'm starting the year off with my intentions, and especially within reading these books. So that is everything. So thank you so much for watching this and sticking this out until the end. Let me know in the comments what you're reading in January, or if you've got any 2024 goals. I would love to know. And until next time, keep your pages turning and embrace the darkness. Bye!